Okay, so everyone's talking about the brotherly shove QB sneak now, but some people have taken it way too far. The good news is that Jalen Carter's set for a bigger role, and defensive coordinator Sean Desai guaranteed more snaps for Nolan Smith. And how close is Howie Roseman to signing Dandre Swift long term? But first, let's run it. Hey guys, alright, so let's start with AJ Brown, who had an impressive game versus the Bucs, hauling in 9 catches for 131 yards. And remember how Jalen Hurts had to push through the flu-like symptoms? Well, it turns out he wasn't the only one, with AJ admitting he had a terrible stomach ache, saying, "I ate some Takis the night before, but never again. Never, ever again."
I did not sleep for 1 second last night. And I cracked the bottom of the toilet bowl.
Oh, God.
I mean, I could have told you that was going to happen. Honestly, who's had a positive experience after Takis? But maybe that's why AJ dropped the 2 TDs in the game. Thankfully, we at least got one of them back via the Tush Push, where future Hall of Famer JJ Watt dropped some knowledge on the controversial play, saying, "Lots of talk about the Tush Push," ridiculous name by the way, "unpopular opinion, if they weren't allowed to push from behind, the Eagles would still be just as successful at QB sneaks. Yes, it helps, but the push isn't the reason it's successful. The O-line and Jalen are. Okay, it probably does help to have a quarterback who can squat a black bear, and an O-line that resets the line of scrimmage while never running out of the pancake supply, frequently putting the defense on their tush." Although speaking of tush, I'm happy to announce that it sounds like we finally landed on something that's very Philly.
Did you have any?
Is that what we're calling it?
I guess.
Okay.
You
said it.
Brotherly shove. Is that
Brotherly shove.
Can we just go with that?
Whatever comes up first in the search engine.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
I do too.
Who came up with that?
I don't know. I found it online. I'd like to take credit, but it ain't.
I think it's great, and the best part is that it finally put to rest all the critics of how the play is unfair and somehow not football.
That tush push play is a blight on the league. It's bad for the sport. It should not be allowed.
Okay, I lied.
I think it's an abomination.
And didn't you call it a bastardization of
Yes,
football?
it's the bastardization of the rules.
Hey, a rule is a rule. And let's face it, without rules, there's chaos.
Okay, hold on. Yes, there has to be some sort of order, but in no way does it apply here. And Jason Kelsey also seems to agree in his response to King's take of the brotherly shove.
First of all, abomination is a strong word. Usually hear that with like serial killers or like, that's like against the Lord, right? Like, what is the definition of abomination? Like, this is like ungodly. That's a strong word for a quarterback sneak play. I mean, so what do we want to outlaw it for? Just because it's like a really, really highly successful play? Or it's like unfair? Like, what do you think?
You got to ask Peter King this, man.
Well, I'm saying, what do you think, Peter?
I don't know.
Like, why don't you conjecture on the people that want to stop the play?
I think he just wants to separate rugby and NFL, is what it sounds like.
What does he have against rugby?
Giving...
What does he have against rugby? We take plays from. If I'm a rugby fan, I'm like, screw you, Peter King. What's wrong with rugby? Why can't we bring rugby into, like, the NFL has already taken concepts from basketball and other sports. Like, we do picks on certain routes that are technically we don't call picks.
I call them rub plays, but yeah, you can call them picks.
Yeah, rub plays, whatever we want to call them. Triangle offense. We talk about triangles and spacing and stuff like that.
What you know about triangles and spacing?
You know what I mean? Like, we already take concepts from other sports. Apparently, Peter King just doesn't like rugby.
I agree with Jason. How many other concepts have teams stolen from other sports, and it feels like such a double standard? Because, when Tom Brady does it, we call it the most unstoppable play in NFL history, perfecting one of the most subtle jobs of a quarterback. And as Roger Sherman once wrote back in 2018, quarterback sneaks are always the answer, saying, "In these divided times, one thing that can bring us all together is yelling at coaches to let their quarterback fall forward for a first down." Except no, not really. With a different Sherman and 5-time All-Pro Richard Sherman sharing, "My problem with the tush push is the NFL literally banned defensive players from pushing other players into the offensive formation on field goals and PATs because it was a health and safety issue. But now it's okay because it benefits the offense?" All right, honestly, out of all the takes I've heard against the brotherly shove, this is probably the most level-headed, and I don't think it's a secret the NFL's bent over backwards to help the offense. Yet it still seems crazy to be talking so much about a quarterback sneak. Again, I'll go back to JJ Watt's comments though. Even if the Eagles weren't allowed to push, they'd still be successful. After all, it's not like just any team can run it successfully, with the Indianapolis Colts failing, and even the Miami Dolphins, who put up 70 on the Broncos, couldn't get it. But I guess a brotherly shove is probably more effective than a fish fry. And it certainly was Monday night, creating the emotional response from Barstool Sports' Stephen Cheah.
I'm going to start being on the, let's hurt Jalen Hurts trains.
Oh, my.
Wow.
What?
Scumbag.
Are you kidding me? Bro, I don't care who you are. You don't wish an injury on anybody. However, Cheah did go on with Thomas Mott to clarify his take, and I've got a link in the description in case you want to check out that interview. But to summarize from Cheah's article, he said, I don't actually wish Jalen Hurts would get injured. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, and he has a bright future as he's on a Hall of Fame track. I hope he has a long and decorated career. I do fully wish the NFL would outlaw offensive players intentionally pushing their offensive players within the tackle box. It's an ugly, dangerous play that belongs in rugby, not our great NFL game. Oh good, thanks for clarifying that you didn't actually want Hurts to get injured, except that came after Jalen's viral response to Cheah's take.
I have no thoughts on it. We're the only people that's doing it as well as we are, you know. The guy wanted to be hurt for it too.
Look, honestly, it's just ridiculous, but we've all probably said some things that are terrible in the heat of the moment. Unfortunately, that wasn't the only guy who suggested the defense should hurt Jalen.
If I was a defensive coach, I'd be going with go ahead hunting on the quarterback here. Go ahead. Let him have it. Dive over, go crazy, try to kill the quarterback. That's what I would do.
Okay.
I don't mean it
First
like
of
that.
all,
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
No, I did, but
I didn't say that, first of all.
But here,
second of all, that's not what Chris means.
Yeah, I don't mean kill, but I mean just make them pay, make them think twice about doing it.
Okay, here we go again with the Sims hating on Jalen comments, yet that's definitely too far. I mean, you know when Florio is the one trying to right the ship over wild things said, you definitely overstepped. Yes, I realize, and I think most of us realize that Sims didn't literally mean kill, but for a known Hurts hater and former QB to suggest it, it's not the best look. Regardless, it kind of makes me laugh seeing all this hoopla because it tells me we have a definite advantage.
Hate us because they ain't us.
Yeah, probably so, and Eagles star kick returner Britain Covey certainly feels the same way, responding with, what's the Phillies saying? No one likes us and we don't care? Maybe my saying is, no one likes me, I don't care. Alright, not gonna lie, you guys know I've been critical of Covey, and a lot of people have. But Nick Sirianni said the Birds have a hidden gem that people need to get used to, especially because Covey leads the NFL in punt return yards, punt return average, punt returns of 10 plus yards, 15 plus, 20 plus, and 25 plus yards since week 13 of last season. Okay, well, you sold me. Yet as one Ute Nation alum asked, will Philly fans continue to complain about him? Yeah, probably. Sorry, it's just what we do. However, the 26-year-old likes it that way since the undrafted label is now ingrained in his psyche, saying, I'll view myself as a practice squad player being elevated for the rest of my career, because that's how you play. That's the motivation that you get. And so I'll never get comfortable being on the 53. Well, alright then, maybe we all overreacted. What do you guys think though? Ready to call Covey the answer, or is there still something we should be concerned about? Personally, I'd be more concerned with the Birds' red zone efficiency than the kicking game. As Josh Tolentino pointed out, the Eagles now rank 25th in red zone efficiency. Of course, kicker Jake Elliott's been efficient, making all 3 of his field goal attempts against the Bucs, but this simply won't be a sustainable way to consistently win games down the line. The play calling needs to improve, and overall, the personnel is too talented to be settling for anything short of 6 points when it reaches that part of the field. Over 3 games now, the Eagles have scored touchdowns on just 5 of 11 red zone trips. Sure, that's pretty evident after the first couple games that we definitely need to improve there, especially seeing how we can quite easily march down the field at times and then completely flounder once in the red zone. Like far too many times against the Bucs, we'd get into the scoring zone and then shockingly quit running the football. Now, yeah, defenses are adjusting all game, but I'd still rather make the defense prove they can stop it before quitting early on the ground game, especially the way DeAndre Swift's been running the football. Ultimately, I think they'll get it figured out, but while we're on the topic of RB1, there have been recent speculation that GM Howie Roseman should lock up DeAndre Swift long term, especially with the 24-year-old in the final year of his deal and currently being second in the league in rushing, where the Eagles Wire's Glenn Irby says locking up Swift would free up money while eliminating one potential issue with Hassan Reddick looking for more money, and Landon Dickerson and Devontae Smith both up for new deals. Plus, the current running back market with Saquon Barkley and Raiders Josh Jacobs, as well as the ongoing Jonathan Taylor saga, could mean now's the time to sign Swift long term. And with Swift on pace to record a 1,700-yard season, signing him before a breakout season that ends with a Pro Bowl or even possibly an All-Pro nomination could save Philly millions. Alright, is that really even a question? I think most of us would love to get a deal done with Swift, but if I'm Swift right now, especially if I'm trying to maximize my gains, I'd probably sit this one out and see what I can get in the offseason. However, the fan in me is really hoping we get something done sooner rather than later. Sure, there's always the risk of injury and concern there, so I guess if you wanted to wait it out, it's not the worst thing in the world. But curious how you guys feel. Would you like to see Howie go ahead and lock up Agent Zero? Whatever the case, Swift's gotta keep seeing snaps, which is exactly what I'd say for Jalen Carter, and why NBC's Reuben Frank asked the question, are we about to see Jalen Carter's playing time increase? Since Carter got 40 40 of 80 defensive snaps in the opener in New England, 28 of 58 in the win over the Vikings, and 21 of 47 Monday night in Tampa. So overall, he's played 48% of the Eagles' defensive snaps, Cox has played 68%, and Davis and Williams have both played 39%. However, as we know, the Eagles will always use a rotation up front, and it works. But let's be honest, Carter is too good, too talented, and too dominating to play less than half a game. He's fit, he's healthy, and he's not slowing down late in games. So doesn't more Carter make sense? Yeah, it definitely does.
It's a long season, and so you especially at that position, you want to rotate guys to keep coming at the offense with waves and we're very fortunate that when you take one guy out, the other guy is a really good player too, and so again, it's a long season. We want to come at him in waves. Obviously Jalen's playing good football right now. We want him to get the snaps that he's getting. I don't know exactly how the percentages is broken down, but I know he's getting quite a bit for the defensive tackle. So they're all rotating, right? But again, long season, and we want to come at him in waves. So that's maybe does that move up as we continue? Yeah, it could.
Okay, sure, Sirianni's never super committal, but just for him to say that suggests there are talks about possibly seeing the baby Rhino more on the field. And why wouldn't they be having those discussions? After all, Carter has the most hurries through 3 career games since Jacksonville's Josh Allen, and he's the first defensive player with at least 2 forced fumbles, 1.5 sacks, and 2 tackles for loss since Ndamukong Suh back in 2010. Sorry if I can't help but get carried away, but like Rube also pointed out, JC's current Pro Football Focus grade is 93.2, yet Fletcher Cox, who's a 6-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, and Hall of Fame candidate, has only had a highest grade of 92.5 ever. So it seems pretty obvious that we want Carter on the field. But another player I'd like to see on the field is Nolan Smith, who thankfully got a little action versus the Bucs on Monday night while introducing himself to Baker Mayfield. However, after seeing some of Nolan's insane potential in the preseason, showcasing the athleticism and flashing his ability to be a playmaker, we couldn't help but be hyped. Oh yeah, and I probably had something to do with the extra hype thanks to the abundance of Nolan Smith coverage leading up to the start of the season. I'm not going to apologize for that, by the way, because defensive coordinator Sean Desai said Superman's about to get his shot.
I think he's doing a great job. So I don't know if he's got to do more. I got to try to get some packages where we get him out there a little bit more, and it fits into our rotational plan. It's part of the send in the waves people that, he's part of that. And a game like last time where the offense, did an outstanding job. I'll take that any time of the week of, where they're on the field for the whole fourth quarter pretty much. It limits the number of plays then. We only had 47 snaps or something in the game. So it throws your whole rotation off. And so there's going to be games like that, but I think he'll tell you the first thing. If the offense wants to hold the ball for that long, we'll take it. And so his reps count will go up. We'll go up as we go, and we'll be diligent to do that.
There you go, we're back, baby. Although I realize there's been a knock on Nolan saying he clearly must not be ready because the Eagles aren't giving him chances, or maybe they feel like Derek Barnett's the better option. Except as Brandon Lee Gouton pointed out, Nolan Smith in 6 snaps against the Bucs, 1 quarterback hit. Derek Barnett's last 9 Eagles games, 1 quarterback hit. That's really all you need to know, isn't it? Hold on, that's not 100% accurate. Like Goat Guy said, this can't be true. He definitely gets QB hits. They just happen after the whistle.
That's a low blow, Loblaw.
Come on, give the dude a break. At least he hasn't cost us this season from that standpoint, but I am definitely down to give Nolan a shot, which is really no surprise. And what better game to give him more snaps than versus the Washington Commanders, who've allowed Sam Howell to get sacked a league worst 19 times in 3 games. However, to his credit, Howell doesn't appear too worried.
The O-line, they're doing a good job, and it's not going to be perfect every single time, and it's my job to get the ball before I get hit. And just knowing that it's not going to be, I'm not going to have perfect protection every single time I snap the ball. And for the most part, those guys are doing a good job, and I just got to do a better job. I think it's not on one person or one group. I think collectively we can all just do a better job.
Okay, well, maybe if Howell's getting the ball out quicker, there won't be as many sack opportunities. Yet I'd at least expect it to present more chances for turnovers, especially with Bills linebacker Terrell Bernard sharing after the game that Howell seemed to struggle going through his full progressions and locked onto receivers, allowing their defense to take full advantage early on. So we'll see how that goes on Sunday, but either way, I'm confident going into the game and would love to see more of the Rooks. And hopefully that means more of Sidney Brown as well, who looked pretty good in limited action against the Bucs, but missed practice today dealing with a hamstring, and his status is now up in the air. However, if he is able to go, it sounds like Brown would prefer the slot, saying nickel feels more like home to me if I'm being real, but I want to be effective any way I can, if that's at nickel, if that's at safety, whatever that is. So we'll continue to monitor, especially because like Zach Berman pointed out, not only was Sidney Brown out of practice, but safety Justin Evans was as well. Thankfully, for the good news, Landon Dickerson is fully back, so no major concerns of him missing time after suffering the knee injury against Tampa. Alright, another reminder that we'll be live streaming the Washington game on Sunday, and we'll be doing another giveaway for any Eagles jersey of your choice. So would love it if you want to stop by and hang out, but all good if not. This has been the Philly Special.